Okay, so I wanted to do a video about where CSS is currently in 2020. The best source I could find was to look at the State of CSS survey for 2019. The State of CSS survey was an offshoot of the State of JS survey, which is an annual thing, which depends how you view those things, but I think they give you a little bit of a traction of what things are popular, what things people want to work on, have worked on. It just gives you a little flavor of where industries are going. The State of CSS survey is new, so it will be more useful in subsequent years to compare where the changes have come from. But I think as a general dashboard survey, it's quite useful to see at a glance where the trends are. So we're going to look at 5 things which sort of stand out to me and what I think would be quite interesting. First one is just on kind of demographics and shares. But in job title, you've obviously got most people are front-end developers using CSS. That's quite predictable. That's to be expected. Then full stack development is nearly a third. So I guess because of the Node ecosystem, people who have been traditional front-ends are now considering themselves more full stack, and vice versa, people from back-end technologies are moving into JavaScript frameworks and consider themselves full stack. It doesn't really break down how much CSS they're writing, but suggests that they are at least involved in CSS and consider it part of what they do. The JavaScript proficiency also suggests mostly advanced, expert, intermediate. So the two are coupled hand in hand. There's less a case now of CSS developers or designers who do CSS who don't really get involved in JavaScript. One is still kind of tightly bundled with the other, which is interesting. Second point is about the features, and particularly with regard to layouts. The two big ones for how you would design a layout at the moment is grid and flexbox. In this graph, the light blue is that you are familiar, but the inner darker blue is that you have actually used it. As you can see, Flexbox is around the same level of knowledge, but many more people have actually used Flexbox. It suggests that people are shirking getting round to using CSS. It seems to be my experience as well, is that most people are aware of it, but they're kind of put off using it, either because they see it as this big time investment to learn, or it's just that Flexbox is been around for longer and it seems like a more safe investment of time, or perhaps people are more familiar with it. It's a shame because I think Grid is fantastic and offers so many benefits. So maybe we'll see that change in subsequent years. If we look at tools, it's an interesting thing too. This particular graph is broken down into the pink bars, which are unpopular, unfavorable opinions, and green, which suggest positive experiences. The trend seems to be that CSS frameworks have more pink. People are becoming less satisfied with those, whereas down here naming conventions like BEM looks very popular, and css-in-js solutions, particularly styled components there and CSS modules, a lot of green, a lot more uptake. So we're definitely seeing a shift from just traditional CSS libraries you download, you plug into those components, to build your own, write them cleanly, or to go to a JS-based solution. So that's really interesting. Over to the opinions, really get people's opinions. So CSS is easy to learn. 33% agree, another 24% strongly agree. You just generally don't assume that, considering again there's a large percentage consider themselves full stack developers. There's all the memes about how CSS is this difficult thing to learn, or it's just a pain. The whole CSS is awesome drawing is about symbolizing the idea that CSS just never seems to work and it's a pain. Well, the numbers seem to disagree with that. It suggests that most people enjoy working on it and it's fairly easy to learn. Finally, just awards, which are just what have come highest in questions around highest satisfaction. We've got post CSS. Okay, that's interesting. Wouldn't have expected that. Highest interest, CSS modules. So again, that's kind of suggesting a trend where people are going to JS-based solutions, particular conventions and particular ways of writing their CSS. It'd be worth checking out my other video on CSS in JS, because I think there's different gradations about how you implement CSS in JS. But it's worth knowing that that's definitely the thing that's exciting people and motivating people to write CSS at the moment. That's it for State of CSS 2020. We still await the results for that later in the year, but it'd be interesting to see how much further those trends have continued. If you think there's another trend emerging or in the current state, put it in a comment and see if I agree or disagree. That's it. Thanks a lot.